Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2020 today, and we're again outside, so you might hear a little bit more noise than normal. I have some neighbors that are doing some work and cutting boards and different things nearby, but it's such a beautiful day. I thought I'd get outside and enjoy the weather. I hope you've been able to get outside and enjoy the weather as well. Take a walk or ride a bike, something like that. Two quotes this morning. Two quotes. One, the average man who does not know what to do with his life wants another one which will last forever. Anatole France. And a second quote, millions of people long for immortality who do not know what to do with themselves on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Susan Ertz. Both these quotes just point out that oftentimes we think we need more time, but then when we're given time, we're not really sure what to do with it. Hope you're using your time wisely. This is your daily Elmira Baptist Church update for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. You will be receiving a prayer sheet update today attached to an email from the church office. Please print that out. Have it ready for tomorrow evening. We'll meet at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, share some other prayer requests, and then have a Bible study before we go to prayer. And frankly, tomorrow's Bible study is going to be a little bit different than things I've done in the past, but I think it'll benefit those of you who are members and friends of Elmira Baptist Church. Remember, this week we're meditating on 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 10. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 10, which says, "But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you." I hope you'll take an opportunity to write that out. Look at that this week. Spend some time thinking about that. Now, I want you to be aware that if you are a California state resident, and the members of Elmira Baptist Church are, today Governor Newsom has announced that he'll be speaking at noon and will speak about the benchmarks that would lead to reopening. Don't know exactly what he's going to say. And I'm not a big fan of ingesting hours and hours of media coverage of the coronavirus crisis. But I do think it's helpful when we listen directly to our elected representatives. We can hear what they have said for ourselves and hear their tone for ourselves. I'm not saying that everyone in the media is intentionally misleading in their coverage, but they just have a different set of priorities than we do. And oftentimes they'll emphasize something that is not important to us, or they'll take something a different way than was intended by the speaker. So if you are a resident of California, let me urge you, find that broadcast at noon by our governor. Take a chance to take the opportunity to listen to that and form your own opinions. And that is a good reminder as we get to our prayer request today to pray for our local, state, and federal government officials to have wisdom. They, especially at the state level, they're the ones that are going to be determining a lot of things for us. So be praying for them particularly. And again, if you get a chance, watch that update by our governor at noon. Also, Don Blood is out of the hospital. He's with his daughter in Grass Valley and recovering, so continue to pray for him. He's not out of the woods yet, but he's sure glad he's not still at the hospital. And then pray for Steve Richardson. He had eye surgery yesterday. He's home recovering. Linda is slowly recovering. She's going to need to be tested again when she can go back to work, but continue to pray for her as well. Well, today's Bible lesson is from Ephesians chapter 5. I'll read to you verses 14 through 18. Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 14 says this, "Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit." Notice the two verses in the middle there, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. And, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. Do you know what God's will is for you right now? This is a unique time. Now, if you're a stay-at-home mother and you're with your children, and especially those of you that either have young children or your children homeschool, this may not seem all that different for you. And I understand that. So I'm not really speaking to you. But if you were working at an office and now you're working at home, or you're not even working at all, or your hours have been changed dramatically, this is a unique time for you. Are we redeeming the time? Are we understanding what the Lord's will is for us at this time? Now, let me give you some tips for surviving at home, especially, again, those of you that this is a new experience for you. Here's tip number 1. Make your morning watch or your evening watch, that is your time with God each day, make that a priority. You cannot survive this time without the Spirit. Be not drunk with wine, our text told us, but be filled with the Spirit. So that's going to be important, that you get that time with God each day so that you can face your day with that Holy Spirit filling that we all need in order to be successful Christians. Second, find good books that will nourish your soul. Nourish your soul type of books. Fiction is okay, and there's even some books on history and different things that may be of interest to you. But I was encouraged before we left for Mongolia to take some sermon books with me and spend some time reading sermons. It was a habit that I had developed when I was at Bible college and we were required to do it, but here I was as an adult, as a missionary, not required to read those sermons, but I found great nourishment for my own spiritual walk with God by reading good messages, by reading Christian biographies. So let me encourage you, as one of your tips for surviving at home, particularly if you have more time, find good books. And again, I know the local library is closed. They may not have soul-nourishing books anyway. If you need one, text me, call me. I'll find you one. Second tip for surviving at home. Avoid junk food for the mind. Avoid junk food for the soul. Much of what we could spend our time doing is not redeeming the time. It's not going to make us better Christians. Binge watching television shows, binge watching movies, scrolling mindlessly through YouTube, or just getting on your social media and mindlessly scrolling through it. Hey, how do I know these things are a problem? Because it's a problem for me. Social media in particular is intended to addict you to looking at it. Television programs, they're intended to get you to watch the next one. I understand that. But we're Christians. We're going to redeem the time. We're going to understand what the will of the Lord is. So avoid junk food for the mind and for the soul. And along with that, be careful about your media intake. Just watching hours and hours of news coverage is not going to help you. I was reading an article just yesterday. Some people are scared senseless because they've watched so much media. They have the impression that most of us are going to die from this coronavirus. Stop. Limit your media intake. Find a few good sources that you can trust that have a Christian worldview and listen to those sources. I listen to a daily podcast, The World and Everything in It. The podcast is free. You can access it for free. They encourage you, of course, to provide monthly support. But I listen to that. It's about a 30-minute program, and it really covers the basics. I don't agree with everything. In fact, there's some substantial disagreements that I have with them on some issues. But in general, news is covered from a Christian worldview. And then I don't have to spend hours and hours every day finding out what's really going on. So avoid junk food for the mind and for the soul. Be disciplined. Be disciplined. Keep a schedule. Be disciplined. Watch what you eat. I just been careful here about my personal exercise here in the neighborhood and watching what I eat. And I've actually shed a few pounds, which is good. I think one of you has picked it up for me, those extra pounds, and I thank you for it. Be disciplined. Be disciplined. Don't just let things go. Fourth, invest your time. Redeeming the time. Invest your time. Especially those of you that have extra time right now. Either you are laid off from work or your work hours have been substantially cut. Don't waste it. Invest it. This may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. As I mentioned before, one way to invest your time is by reading good books, soul-nourishing books. A second way to invest your time, and this goes for you mothers particularly, invest in your children. These years are so precious. When our kids were little, my wife and I felt like they were going to be little forever. They're not little anymore. And the investments we make in our children now are different. Invest in your children. One of my prayer requests for my wife comes from Psalm 113, where God says he will make her a joyful mother of children. So I pray that my wife will be a joyful mother of children. And we were discussing this very topic of my wife's investment in our children the other day. And she said, I am a joyful mother of children, which I knew that. I can see how much she enjoys being with her children. Mothers, do you enjoy being with your children? Fathers, do you enjoy being with your children? If you just endure them, don't be surprised when they turn 18, 19, and they fly the coop. And they don't show up very often. Invest in your children during this time. Learn a new skill. Many schools, many training centers have moved their courses online, and some of them are offering them at a reduced cost or even for free, allowing you to audit classes for free. As an example, West Coast Baptist College has offered an apologetics course for free. I don't know if it's too late. You may not be able to sign up for it, but learn a new skill. This morning, I took the opportunity. I'm staying busy. I have plenty of work to do, but I took the opportunity to watch a webinar that was offered by the software company who makes my Bible program. So I watched it. First 30 minutes, I learned more about that program than I'd learned just different commands by myself. And I more effectively how to research things. So spend time, if you have extra time, learning a new skill, something that will serve you well later on, because this is the time, this is a period of our life when we are called to redeem the time. The days are evil. Understand what the will of the Lord is. And remember, God is still in control. I'll see you again tomorrow.